Many of us were waiting for it, and that news has finally arrived. Sam Bankman Fried, the former CEO of the FTX exchange, who essentially stole $8 billion of its customer funds, has officially been arrested in the Bahamas. In this video, I'm going to tell you what he's actually being charged with, as well as some information on why it took place right now, because there is some crazy and strange timing going on. Yes, I'm talking about the Capitol Hill testimony that he was supposed to be at today, this week, giving his testimony. I'm going to tell you what he's being charged with and if prison time or extradition to the United States is actually going to happen. Also, there's some news around our favorite SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, and some SEC news regarding the arrest of Sam Bankman Fried and why Gary Gensler is actually in the news now. And some of the conspiracy theorists are now talking about the connection of Gary Gensler and Sam Bankman Fried. And so as we await some important economic news in the United States, such as the CPI data, as well as what the Fed is going to be doing in its upcoming meeting this week, I'm going to tell you what to look out for in terms of volatility, depending on how Jerome Powell actually comes out and explains what their plans are for the near term. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, but I'm also covering cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you go ahead, hit that subscribe button, join the Late Night Grind community. So if you do a couple of things, I'd really appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button and watch this video all the way to the end. And don't forget to hit that bell notification icon. That way YouTube will send you a notification when I release a new video. If you do that, I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. So as we look at the information that has just come out about Sam Bankman Fried being arrested in the Bahamas by Bahamian authorities, and it looks like he was done so at the request of U.S. authorities. Now, officially, it looks like the charges were actually being brought by the lower district of New York, which is why they had to arrest him finally. And not only that, we're actually expecting the SEC to come out with some of the things that they could be charging Sam Bankman Fried with as well. However, I did see on Twitter that the SEC didn't come out with a statement of their own until the arrest was actually made. And this is a point where a translation could be made that, well, the SEC wasn't exactly up on things, maybe done so by design, and so now they have to come up with something all night to look like they're going to charge him with something. So here's what Sam Bankman Fried is actually being charged with officially so far. This includes wire fraud conspiracy, securities fraud conspiracy, and money laundering. And that list could grow and grow significantly. Now, right now he is in the Bahamas, which the Bahamas does have an extradition treaty with the United States, which means if the United States requests, they can tell the Bahamian authorities to send Sam Bankman Fried to the United States, which is probably what is going to happen. However, depending on who you are and how well connected you are, that could take weeks. In fact, more than weeks. In fact, it could take several months. Now, here's the interesting thing about the timing of all this. Sam Bankman Fried was scheduled to appear before Congress this week to give his testimony in front of the Financial Services Committee, in front of the rest of Congress, as to what happened with FTX. Now, according to all reports, Sam had been pretty cooperative up to this point, but of course, a lot of the communications had been with people that, well, he's been giving tens of millions of dollars to in becoming one of the biggest donors to the Democratic Party over the past couple of years. Mainly, Maxine Waters, who is a Democrat in charge of the Financial Services Committee, had actually put out a statement after hearing about his arrest that said she is very surprised of his arrest. And so if we go deep into some of these conspiracy theories, and if you've been watching this channel for a little while now, you know that some of these conspiracy theories, specifically regarding the SEC and Ripple, well, now many of those are proven true, although they're not coming out in the court of law just yet. So, was Sam Bankman Fried arrested in order to give him about another 30 days before actually having to appear in front of anybody to talk about this, specifically Congress? Now, here's the other thing. Just yesterday, before the arrest, he actually responded to Congress and saying, well, he's actually not going to be able to make it there in person. He'll be doing his testimony via video conference. Of course, that did not make a lot of people in Congress very happy, that were getting very eager to question him. And so here's where the story gets even more interesting and goes even a little bit deeper. Our favorite chairman of the SEC, Gary Gensler, he was recently in the news because he was caught deleting information from his public calendar. Now, what information was that? Well, the information was that of meetings, specifically with Nancy Pelosi, George Soros, and even Hillary Clinton. Now, why would he be deleting meetings off of his calendar just now with those people? Well, of course, some of the speculation is, did they have anything to do with FTX and the potential money laundering from FTX into the Democratic Party? Well, there's going to be a lot of Republicans that are going to want to investigate this further. The Republicans are now in charge of the House of Representatives, and they have promised many investigations coming out in the beginning of this year. And so if you're interested in any of these, specifically ones into the SEC, you're going to want to follow this channel, The Late Night Grind, as it's one that I'm specifically going to be following. So as we set some conspiracy theories and some of the prognostications aside about why all these people did what they did and the timing of this and why it all seems incredibly strange, well, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Because as it looks right now, Sam Bankman-Fried arrested. He is in the Bahamas by all accounts. He was very cooperative, but he will be spending the night in a Bahamian jail. Now, of course, the big obvious elephant in the room as to why Sam Bankman-Fried is being arrested is because, well, he essentially stole his own customers' funds that were supposed to be custodied with FTX, but of course, he was not. He was actively lending them out and trading with them, doing things he was not supposed to be doing. So, if you want to be protected by that, what's the obvious thing you can do? If you have cryptocurrencies, if you have NFTs, if you have any kind of digital assets, what's the smart thing to do? Well, it's to pull it off of exchanges. Now, I've been covering how Bitcoin has been being pulled off of exchanges at a very rapid pace over the last year or so, as many people are putting Bitcoin into their cold storage. This is a very smart thing to do rather than keeping things on an exchange unless you're actively either trading it or have a short-term use for it coming up. But if you are simply holding it for the sake of holding it, you're going to want to do so in cold storage, that being a hardware wallet. I have a link in the description below to one of the best hardware wallets out there, and that is by the company Ledger. So go ahead and click on the link in the description below. They have several different options of hardware wallets that you can use to pull your cryptocurrencies off of exchanges and keep it in cold storage so that things like this can't happen to you. And when CEOs of big exchanges go awry, well, they're not stealing your funds off of their exchange because you are holding yours safe and sound in your own Ledger wallet. So go ahead and click on the link in the description below and pick up a Ledger wallet. It is a great Christmas gift for the person that you told to buy Bitcoin last year that are now down over 65%. Just saying. And depending on when you are watching this video, the CPI numbers for the United States may have already come out, but if you're watching it early, they didn't come out yet. And depending on what the Fed says on Wednesday, well, this cryptocurrency market could be seeing an upward movement or a downward movement. So from the analysis that I've seen, if Jerome Powell and the Fed comes out and says they're going to continue to be hawkish, meaning 75%, meaning a 75 basis point raise of rates, well, you could be seeing a lot of these markets tank even further, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, XRP, all included. However, if they do backtrack a little bit and they say, well, we're probably only going to be looking at a 50 basis point raise, that could actually have the reverse effect on the market, as that could signal some potential good news for investment markets coming into next year. Something to keep in mind, but there's going to be a lot of volatility if you are a trader. If you don't know how to trade these things, please stay out of the markets. And so if you want to have a conversation with me about it, you can always do so on Twitter. I am on Twitter. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to follow me. A lot of these stories that I talk about on Twitter and retweet information about them there as well. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.